All right, welcome. As everyone's coming back in, we are a little bit behind schedule, but when Kevin gets back in here, we'll have our team do a quick debrief so you can get a snapshot of some of the themes from the different breakout sessions. And then David will have you share a bit more on the timeline for planning. And then we've got a few resources and then we'll be out of here. Kevin, are you back with us?
We're here.
All right. Do you want to kick it off with a debrief from the superintendent breakout?
You bet. I think most our conversation centered around some of the fundamentals of implementing a different calendar. Part of it had to do with staffing. Were you able to staff intersession? How were your staff affected? Did you lose staff because you went to, we were talking to Highland and Toppenish, who've already implemented a modified calendar as well as a traditional 9-week balanced calendar. They wondered, did you lose staff? And Highland said, most of our teachers don't live here and we only lost 2 teachers and we don't think it's possible it wasn't even related to this. The second question had to do with athletics. How does this affect your athletic schedules? And our synopsis was that it doesn't. Athletics are on their own separate track. And if they have practice, they have practice. They have a game, they have a game. I mean, they attend practice and games just as normal. Yeah, some games and practices will occur during intersession, much like some of your games and practices occur during Christmas break. So athletics is something that is not affected. But it did lead us to in a transportation discussion about what about busing? And of course, we're all at the busing area, right? We're worried about buses. But in general, if you have a regular transportation bus system, you should be good to go. The last thing we talked about was summer school. And what is your traditional summer school? Like, are you doing 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 4 weeks? And it was a variety, but what they were very interested in was the fact that they could reduce the summer school and that they actually had more kids attending. In Toppenish, they have about 1,100 kids attending every week now to their intersession. They have Friday intersessions. And in Highland, the smallest amount of percentage of kids by building is 50% of the kids are coming to those intersessions that they're having during the year. That's the smallest number. It goes up to 80. So the attendance, they're reducing summer school. They're putting that into the year when it's more effective. Having to wait for the autopsy to do help in the summer is not effective. We all know that. And they've put it into the year and that seems to have made a difference. So most of our questions around, well, what about that? What about custodians? What about cleaning? And just some of the normal questions that went on. So that was our group.
Thanks, Kevin. Dana and David, how about the teacher group? What were a few themes from that group?
Well, first of all, I would like to say we had 5 rock star teachers present today, and they each talked about their lived experiences, and many of them crossed over from maybe starting in a traditional calendar school and moving to a modified calendar school. One is a school psychologist that works in both on both calendars. And again, some of the things we heard were things like, I'm energized, I'm able to be reflective, there's more flexibility. We get to go back to some of the things that were taught to us as foundational things in education, such as thematic-based instruction. There's a lot of energy around this intersession opportunity to potentially enrich and teach different curriculum. I didn't hear these words, but I can tell there's a lot of word of mouth going on in the Highland district about how cool intersession is going to be. And the fact that in some cases, kids did not sign up for it and there's some regret already, even though it doesn't start till next week. I have a couple other sound bites that I want to share. I'm a former high school soccer coach, and Kevin hit this one out of the park when he said, you know, there really isn't a reason to think that high school sports is a barrier. I much preferred my kids to be in school because they competed better when they had a typical routine day. If we were, for instance, playing on a Saturday, the kids would sleep till an hour before game time and roll in, and we would start very, very slow. Sometimes we were practicing over a school break. That happens in your winter opportunities for your winter sports. It can and often is seemed as a barrier. It's not a barrier. The other thing is we've been doing balanced calendar or modified calendar instruction for 28 years. I failed to say that in the opening. So we are here to support you and willing to do so moving forward. Dana, what did I miss?
Well, that's the beauty of following you. Not much. It would be my short answer. I think very well summarized. All I would add is really some underscore enthusiasm, a renewed energy, a sense of the ability to be adaptive and responsive to student needs, and finding ways to provide intervention supports for students before summer so that you can catch up before you have really fallen behind. So just lots of positive reports from our teachers.
This is John. Can I interject real quick? This is something that came up about athletics early on in the summer when we were looking to roll this out. I had a conversation with Mick Hoffman, the executive director for WIAA. He's fully supportive of anything we're doing to help students. So that was awesome to hear. So I know that's been a concern, but he said, hey man, we'll make it work. So, and I think he's been in contact with Highland and Toppenish school districts. They're in the middle of this right now. So just wanted to share that bit of news.
Scott Seaman, how about from the principals group? What reflections and themes came out there?
Well, I'll just tee it up a little different, opposite from how Dana's crew did it. I'll say that my partner in crime, Kevin, teed it up perfectly with a list of things to do and not to do for our principals. He did a fantastic job to really kind of plant the seeds about what's possible. And what I love about this whole conversation is I think we paint ourselves in a corner too often with that mindset that this is too big of a change. And what Kevin showed and the others that shared in that group, that not only is it possible, but it works and it's best for kids. So a lot of excitement in our group, a lot of those, well, what if questions. So I think we are at that foundational piece of where do we go from here? So we're excited to get a little network of principals meeting on a regular basis to explore this and chase down all the what ifs. Kevin, my rock star partner, I mean, all I had to do was smile and watch the participant list. He did all the work.
It really, and the same thing, Andrea from Highland shared a little bit of what they're going through. It's learning experience. As you get through this school year for the districts that are doing it, you'll learn more. You'll come up with a few ideas of what worked really well and what didn't. I'd write those down now because then you use them for your next intercession, your next school year, and you share those successes and the failures as you go. But no, it was a good group and people are excited and we'll make it work statewide.
All right, Tim Garshaw, school board directors.
Sure. So my partner was Bunker Frank, and she's past state board, past WASDA president, past school board director. Bunker has a very long resume. She put together a great slide deck that had some really useful graphics that board members in their role in the board domain could be using to help explain to community members who approach them the differences. We quickly learned that we need more time as a group. We had several awesome school directors there. And so we talked a little bit about maybe Bunker and I could host a webinar, like a learning lunch for school directors, where we can actually go through the whole slide deck and have more time for questions and answers. But we did talk about that school directors have a different role in this. It's not as much in the operational realm as it is in the policy realm and in the public liaison realm as well. So we'll be, if you're a school director, watch for some information coming out after annual conference somewhere early December. We'll do a lunchtime webinar where we can go through all of Bunker's slide deck and really have some time to dig in and get questions from school directors.
All right, thanks, Tim. David, I'd love to hand it back to you to do a bit on your timeline for planning. I think you're safe to share your screen, knock on wood.
Okay, I'm going to do so. Let's see,
Okay.
on current slide, and let's see where I have lost my Zoom. There you are. And share screen. Oh, yep, here we go. Okay, team. this is a timeline to transition. And I think it was Don that just set this up. Actually, you have a local expert. I call her Phyllis. She goes by Bunker Frank at times. And she has a great deal of experience advocating for a modified school calendar on the West Coast as well as nationwide. She's a former board member for the National Association for Year-Round Education and a really wonderful thought partner for me. So I modified and adapted some of her work here. Again, I bet she has this more concise and would be willing to share this, but I think it's really relevant to share that this is a journey. And my first slide, if you were looking at the slide deck, had the tortoise and the hare on it. And some districts are able to go fast because they're ready. And it sounds like you have a couple out there with Toppenish and Highland. Some, it's going to take a couple years. It's okay. Kevin Chase contacted me approximately a year ago and said, "Hey, I want to learn a little more." And I am completely all in on the leadership that I've met with since that time. You have a very thoughtful state group of leaders. And we're having this timeline to transition here, but it really depends on the context of your district. But here are some key things to consider. You need to get a committee going, and it needs to be broad, and it needs to include educators, and it also needs to include local experts or people from the National Association. Nothing undermines this quicker than a community member or a stakeholder saying something like, hey, question A, B, C, D, and a leader saying, "I'm not really sure, I'll get back to you." What the stakeholder hears is, if this is such a good idea, how come my educational leader doesn't necessarily know the answer? You're not supposed to know the answer, but there's that undermining moment. So you need to continue to prepare presentation and informational resources, conduct introductory staff, parent, and community meetings. And we've been doing those, I think, since the beginning of this year. We had a decent sized summit. I think close to 400 to 500 people joined us in, I believe it was May. And you need to start surveying, okay, finding out what people think about this. But you need to make sure it's a well thought out survey, because if your stakeholders think that this is already kind of set up and you're just kind of going through the motions, that's also a reason for someone to see this as a barrier. And then you need to kind of dig into the financial analysis. In the summer and fall, continue to research. Okay, present your findings frequently. Continue to seek board approval to continue to study the calendar change. Okay, you need to bring them along. Make site visits to your neighboring districts and identify the list of supporters. Okay, in the fall and winter of year 2, develop draft calendars. The beauty of this is John from the Office of the Superintendent for Public Instruction, he has shared, I don't want this to be only balanced calendar. I don't want it to be just a 4-day a week plus intercession on Fridays. I want it to be constructed to meet the needs of the local district. So what that means is if you have a harvest time, and I bet you do, cherries, apples, pears, some other amazing produce, take a break during that period of time. Now, we don't always get it right. I mean, harvest in Michigan varies, but the long and the short of it is, you have an opportunity to construct a calendar that meets your local issues and concerns and do that. Finalize those calendar recommendations, start an intercession study committee. And I think doing a SWOT analysis makes sense from the perspective of your district administrators. Transportation needs to identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to running a transportation office on a modified calendar. Same with facilities, childcare, food service, finance, and on and on and on. You need to make sure you're not going to leave your community partners behind. The YMCA, the childcare programs, the Boys and Girls Club. If they are the last to know about this, they're not going to be ready to welcome your kids during a scheduled break. Year 2, present those final recommendations. And again, I have some timelines up there based on some of the work that Phyllis has shared, but this is really unique to you. Seek board approval and move into that transition and modify and adjust as needed after you've started your first day of school. The Highland teachers we met with talked about often in the session that I had in the breakout session, we're going to keep getting better. And I'm grateful to hear that. And it will take time, and you will be modifying, and you'll be changing and tweaking, and that's all part of the journey. The last thing I have is I'm going to, let's see here. Oh, I didn't go. So my contact information, again, you've seen the slide deck, reach out at any point.
Thanks, David. And I would love to hand it over to Dana Anderson and Brittany to close her up with a few resources, and then John to bid the group farewell. Dana, are you there? Where are you?
Yes, I am. Very good. Thank you. And thanks everyone for your attendance today. We want to share that we're here to support you in this journey. From the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction to our educational partner associations, your educational service districts, we're part of a network of support. We're meeting regularly, most Mondays, to talk about state level steering and support for our grantees and other school districts that are engaged in this effort. So beyond your grant funded activities that you'll be working on as a team, a number of things that I'd like to draw your attention to. First of all, our Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction and the Association of Educational Service Districts are working to develop a web presence, which will have resources available for your teams to gain access to, both in terms of research, but also some tools, including communications. In the slide deck, when you access it, you'll find communications tools that have been prepared and drafted to assist you in your work. We'll also be hosting regional networking events where teams can get together to share their experiences, work collaboratively on overcoming some of the challenges that they might be feeling, but also share resources that they've developed so that we can grow and learn together. So you'll find contacts for members of the grants that will be linked in the slide deck. Certainly encourage you to reach out to those. As you saw early on, there are positions still yet to be funded. And so encourage districts that have not accessed those resources to reach out to John and to engage in the application process. Also, you have David Hornick with us. He's on the road with us and is a support to both individual teams, regional networks, and our state. And he has offered to facilitate an ongoing book study in relation to the text that we just had a chance to explore just a little bit this afternoon and early evening. So linked on this slide deck, and we'll send via email to those in attendance, is a survey which will allow you the opportunity to tell us your interests, share who you are and how we can contact you, but also share with us supports that you feel would be beneficial to you. We're here to assist you in this journey, and we want to hear from you. So please share with us the things that you feel would be most beneficial to you and your teams as you engage in this multi-year journey, as you just saw outlined by David. And how about if I hand things off to our partners?
All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate everyone attending today's Modified Calendar Summit. Thank you for sticking through the craziness. This was a first for me. I've heard about it, read about it, never thought I'd have experienced it. So deep breath. Hopefully this is the first and the last time. So I'm so excited to see the work in progress. So as has been stated many times, we're here to help. So boy, this is just so exciting to see this. So all the presenters are here. Please reach out to us. David, thank you for sharing that Dr. Peterson's willing to take inquiries at his level too. That's awesome. As stated on the slide, we appreciate your enthusiasm for embarking on this journey to support students in our state. So everyone, have a wonderful day, and thank you again for joining.
Just a reminder in the chat, if you want to click on that link, it'll take you to the resources and interest form, and you'll be able to sign up, and we'll have your information that way. That'd be helpful. All right. Thanks, everybody.